two members of the biggest boy band on Earth walked into a concert in Toronto. By the next morning, the internet was on fire. Because the man they were photographed with has a history that BTS's own fans have spent years speaking out against. And a week later, neither RM nor J-Hope nor BTS's label has said a single word about it. So what actually happened that night? And why is the silence that followed becoming a bigger story than the concert itself? For over a decade, BTS has built something rare in the music industry. Not just a fan base, but a movement. ARMY didn't just love the music, they believed in what the group stood for. Messages about self-worth, about empowerment, about standing up, especially for women, in an industry that hasn't always made that easy. That's exactly why what happened in Toronto hit so hard. Because this isn't a story about a concert. It's a story about trust. And what happens when the people you trusted the most do something you never expected. Chapter 1. The Night in Toronto. On August 12th, 2026, Usher and Chris Brown brought their joint R&B tour to Rogers Stadium in Toronto. It was the second of two sold-out nights in the city. In the crowd that night were two members of BTS, RM, the group's leader, and J-Hope. Just 10 days before, BTS themselves were scheduled to perform at that very same stadium. J-Hope posted Instagram stories from inside the show, clips of himself and RM dancing, clearly enjoying Chris Brown's performance of his song Look at Me Now. But it didn't stop there. After the show, photos began circulating. RM and J-Hope, backstage, posing with both Usher and Chris Brown. The images weren't leaked, they were posted by the artists themselves to their own social media accounts. Usher even shared a video from the encounter. In it, RM can be heard telling him it was an honor for the two of them to be there. Within hours, the photos had spread across every corner of the internet. Chapter 2. Why this name matters. To understand why this moment exploded the way it did, you have to understand who Chris Brown is to a lot of the people watching. In 2009, Chris Brown pleaded guilty to felony assault after attacking his then-girlfriend, the singer Rihanna, the night before the Grammy Awards. It became one of the most talked-about cases of domestic violence in modern music history. That wasn't the end of his legal troubles. In 2014, he pleaded guilty to a separate assault charge in Washington, D.C. He's faced additional legal cases over the years involving allegations of violence. And more recently, in 2026, he pleaded guilty in the UK to a charge connected to a 2023 nightclub incident, with sentencing still pending. For years, artists and fans alike have debated whether Chris Brown should still headline major stages at all. And BTS's fan base, ARMY, is estimated to be majority women, a fact that made this moment feel, to many of them, deeply personal. But the story didn't end with the photos. What happened next pulled in almost the entire group. Chapter 3. The fallout spreads. As the backlash grew online, fans waited for RM or J-Hope to say something, anything. Neither one did. Instead, something else happened. Just one day after the Chris Brown photos surfaced, BTS members V and Jungkook posted a video together on social media. For a lot of fans, the timing felt impossible to ignore. Some ARMY members read it as an innocent, unrelated post. Others saw it very differently, suggesting online that it looked like a calculated attempt to shift attention away from RM and J-Hope. It's important to be clear here. There is no confirmed statement from V, Jungkook, or Hybe explaining the timing of that post. What we know is the reaction, and the reaction was intense. Some fans defended V and Jungkook, pointing out that gym content and casual posts had already been part of their normal routine before any of this started. Others felt the timing spoke for itself. Either way, it meant one thing. A story that began with 2 members had now pulled in the whole group. There was one detail a lot of casual observers missed in the middle of all this noise. Just weeks earlier, BTS had made a completely separate announcement, one that, on its own, had nothing to do with Chris Brown at all. Chapter 4: The Grammy Decision That Changed the Context. Before any of this began, BTS made headlines for a different reason entirely. The Recording Academy had introduced a new category for the 2027 Grammy Awards, Best Asian Pop Performance. BTS chose not to submit their music for consideration on it. In their message to fans, the group explained that they hoped their music could be heard and loved for what it is, rather than divided by region or language. At the time, that decision was widely praised. ARMY saw it as BTS standing firm on an artistic principle, refusing to be boxed into a category defined by where they're from, rather than the music itself. But once the Chris Brown photos surfaced just days later, that same decision started getting pulled into an entirely different conversation. Some online criticism began connecting the 2 stories together, questioning how a group that had just made a public stand on principle could then be seen embracing an artist with Chris Brown's history. To be clear, these are 2 separate, unrelated decisions made by different members for different reasons. But online, especially in fast-moving fan discourse, separate stories don't always stay separate, and this one didn't. Chapter 5: The World Outside. ARMY Takes Notice. For the first few days, this looked like it might stay contained inside BTS's own fandom. Then, it didn't. Reports began circulating that pop stars Zara Larsson and Megan Thee Stallion had unfollowed RM and J-Hope on social media. Some fans pointed to a resurfaced clip of Larsson naming Chris Brown specifically as an artist she refuses to listen to. Others noted Megan Thee Stallion's own well-documented history involving a shooting connected to a Chris Brown associate. It's important to say clearly, these unfollows have not been confirmed by either artist as a direct statement about this controversy. They are being reported and interpreted that way by fans and outlets covering the story. But true or not, the perception alone was enough to turn a K-pop fan debate into a wider pop culture conversation. This was no longer just about BTS and their fans. It had become a story the broader music industry was watching. But the most concrete consequence of all was still to come. Chapter 6: The Role Model List. For years, RM had occupied a unique place in public conversations about masculinity in music. In 2024, the nonprofit Pixel Project had named him a case study, citing what they described as his willingness to unlearn misogyny and speak out against violence toward women, specifically in South Korea's deeply patriarchal culture. He had even been featured in the organization's Father's Day op-ed on the importance of imperfect male role models. On August 19th, 2026, that recognition was reversed. The Pixel Project announced it was indefinitely suspending RM from its list of male role models. The organization said it would also review and revise the very op-ed that had once celebrated him. This wasn't a fan reacting online. This was an outside organization, unconnected to BTS or Hybe, making a real institutional decision in direct response to the Toronto photos. For an artist whose entire public image had been built, in part,
Chapter 7. The Silence.
And that brings us to the detail that's made this story impossible to look away from. As of this recording, more than a week after the photos first surfaced, neither RM nor J-Hope, nor BTS as a group, nor their agency HYBE has issued any official public statement addressing the Chris Brown controversy directly. No apology, no explanation, no clarification. Fans are split on what that silence actually means. Some believe it's intentional restraint, a decision not to give the story more oxygen by responding to every wave of online criticism. Others see it as something closer to avoidance, arguing that a group known for direct, personal communication with fans has never gone quiet like this before. There's no way to know which interpretation is correct. What we do know is this: the longer the silence continues, the louder the questions around it get. At its core, this was never really a story about one concert or one photo or even one artist. It's a story about what happens when the people we admire turn out to be exactly what they always were: human, capable of choices that surprise us, capable of contradictions we didn't expect from them. BTS spent over a decade building a message about growth, respect, and standing up for others. That message is exactly why this moment landed the way it did. Not because two people went to a concert, but because of who they'd always told their fans they were trying to be. Whether this becomes a moment they publicly address or a controversy that simply fades with time,